Okay, we're going to go through some of the basics when it comes to core training. A lot of the initial stages of core training come through the development of isometric holds, typically your planks, your side planks, and your bridges. The idea here is that if you can't hold your abdominals and your core in a fixed position for anywhere between 30 and 90 seconds in these positions, then it's a lot more difficult to make your core muscles hold this tight position when you're doing other weight-bearing movements, squats, deadlifts, presses, whatever the case might be. If you can't keep it tight without anything else becoming involved, then it's going to be pretty difficult to maintain that tightness when you're actually adding a traditional resistance-based movement to it. So a normal set of about 8 to 15 repetitions might last anywhere from 30 to 60 seconds. So that's why for a time frame on a lot of these movements, I like to work about a 30 to 90 second expectation, when it's done in isolation, so that way you can get about the same carryover to, like I said, adding an additional exercise to it when the abs are just functioning as a stabilizing or assisting muscle group. So the very first thing we're going to do is just a simple plank. Okay. The idea behind this is, hence the name plank, your body should be straight from head to hip to toe, just board straight, very, very little curvature going on in the body. So all you're going to do for this, come down onto all fours. You want to plant the forearms about shoulder width apart. You're looking to bring the shoulder directly over top of the elbow. Okay, you don't want to have any deviation forward or backward from this position. So shoulders are basically right over top of the elbow. You're going to bring one foot back at a roughly shoulder width position. A little in or a little out from that point doesn't typically have a huge impact. But shoulder width is basically your base on this. You can draw the other foot back. And then you're going to flex your abdominals. Basically, the way I like to describe it is you want to flex your abdominals like you're preparing to get punched in the stomach. Okay? You don't really want to draw the abdominals in, because then basically what you do when you pull the abdominals in, you're creating a smaller base to hold everything from. A pyramid, because it's holding a ton of weight, has an extremely wide base. Okay? If you were to cut that base down on either side, you would have to cut down the height of the pyramid to compensate. So that's basically the same thing when you're doing your core training. You don't necessarily want to suck it in. You just want to tighten it and brace it as much as you can. So it's that the analogy is you're preparing like you're going to get hit in the stomach by a sucker punch or whatever. That same instinctual reaction you get there to draw everything kind of down and in is what you want to do. It's like abdominal bracing, I guess you could call it, when it comes to your planking movements, and then carrying that over into your more functional based movements that we talked about a little bit already. So again, coming down to this position, holding it, you're basically pretty much straight from head to toe, just flexing the abdominals like you're bracing to get punched in the stomach, and then breathe normally. Into the nose, out to the mouth. A couple things you're going to look for is typically if someone is extremely weak in the abdominals, the first thing they're going to do is let their butt kind of rise up, and that's going to let the shoulders shoot way behind the elbows. Okay, this sort of position just means that they're completely weak in the abdominals. They need to draw the butt down so that they're more back in line. Another thing that you're going to run into is where you'll see people doing their planks like this. Okay, there's the same type of people that complain that they feel their plank more in the lower back than the abdominals. That's typically just either poor exercise instruction and your poor positioning and verbal cueing on that one. Same thing, just pull everything up, because at that point, when you drop the hips down like that, it stretches out the abs. So you can't flex your abs at this point, because you've got basically, you can either contract your abs or you can contract your lower back. It's hard to consciously do both. So in this case, because the hips are down and the lower back's tight, it stretches out the abdominals, so you can't really keep them as tight as you want to. Okay, so kind of taking what seems like it would be a pretty straightforward movement and actually adding some interesting twists in terms of the technique. Okay, so now what she wants to do, she's got a little bit of a drop in terms of where you see there's a kind of an arch in the lower back right here. So what she wants to do is she wants to tighten her abs like she's getting ready to get hit in the stomach. Now with male clients, a lot of times you'd actually physically give them a little bit of a pop. With females, you just more need to get them to get into that mindset. So the lower back is still kind of sagging a little bit, so just visibly flex everything, there you go. Just like you're getting ready to get punched in the stomach. So you can feel everything has gotten a lot tighter at this point. And then just continuing to focus on the breathing into the nose, out through the mouth. Shoulders are sitting right over top of the elbows, which is perfect. For somebody who might be a little bit either on the heavier side or coming back from an injury or just super weak in the abdominals, you might need to start them just like you would with push-ups, where they're coming off of the knees rather than off of the feet. So in this case, it just reduces the overall load that they're bearing. Same thing, you're still looking for the straight body position no matter whether it's the knees or the feet, but now you're just looking for straight from the shoulders to the hips to the knees rather than extending it all the way over to the feet. And then once they progress up to about 60 seconds on that version, then you would draw them back up on the feet. Odds are their time will drop way down at that point, but then you can begin to develop that aspect up as well.
What about head position?
Head position typically should be relatively neutral. You're not necessarily looking up, so you don't want to arch the cervical spine. Just basically looking kind of down and slightly off in front of you. You know, don't look underneath your body because then you round the neck and round the spine. Just basically a neutral position, looking on the floor maybe 6 to 10 inches in front of you. Okay, so that's it for front planks.